Hello, everyone. Welcome to the On-Chain India podcast. Uh, Today we have Naga from Supercritical, joining with us, uh, to speak about, his journey, Supercritical's journey, and general Web3, discussion around it. Welcome, Naga, to the On-Chain India podcast.
Thank you, Pratik. Super excited to be here.
Awesome. Naga, let's deep dive in. Would love to understand, your Web3 journey. How did you end up over here? And, what was that initial point, which was, very attractive for you to consider, this space? And a follow-up to that is, does this even hold true place in
Yeah.
today's, world? So,
Mhm. Absolutely. So I can get started. So I was mining Bitcoin back in 2011, 2012. I was basically running a miner in my college PC running Intel Pentiums. And the hash rate was good enough and the complexity was so low that you can actually mine tangible Bitcoins. So I mined a few as part of being part of a pool. And at that point in India, I realized that, okay, if I have to cash these things out, at that point, Bitcoin was no more valuable than a meme coin. And to cash out a few Bitcoin that I had, it was costing me more in compliance, which is getting a PAN card number, getting a photo ID, and then getting that pasted and posted more than what I would get in return. So I just basically let that PC go, and along with it, the Bitcoins. But fast forward, had an amazing decade plus of engineering, working for Microsoft, building the world's largest peer-to-peer file storage network, working for Twitter, building their social graph, working for Meta, building their one of the largest payment networks, social payment networks embedded into WhatsApp. So in India, if you're using UPI, if you're using WhatsApp, there is a little rupee icon next to the chat message. I was one who built that. And we did that in across other popular WhatsApp user bases like Mexico, Brazil. And post that, we launched crypto payment rails in Guatemala. And the idea behind that is whatever we are doing in fiat, what if we did that in crypto? I mean, we understand the technology, we understand the theoretical efficiency aspect of it, but what does it look like in real world at real world scale? And I realized that we can save millions of dollars a year in just using a better efficient technology as opposed to using fiat payment rails. For context, UPI and every other payment system on the planet is excellent technology, right? Like it's a world-class distributed systems, and with all distributed systems, you get a reliability score. So let's say it is 99.999, and that means that at a billion user scale, there are a lot of people who slip through that 0.0001 percentile. And that's unfortunate because that translates to every user that slips out. It's basically lost opportunity for the user to move funds as they wanted. So if someone actually lost their money, and it wasn't in their bank account until the bank reconciled, it takes a few days for them to do that. And so with blockchain as a technology, it turns out it's just not a problem that you would even factor in as a thing that you should protect against. So that was fascinating. That by sheer upgrade of technology, you can just bring so much efficiency in business processes. And in terms of pure economics, it is no-brainer that the future of payment and future of technology will be on-chain. So that was where I wanted to spend most of my time on, and we started MetaKeep as the first journey into that. And the thesis at that point was, look, there are so many blockchains on the planet with so enough block space and too many long tail of layer ones that have no traction. So the biggest problem probably is that we should solve for adoption, because clearly businesses understand the value of it. If I, as an founding engineer on payments, recognize it, clearly every other company has recognized it as well. And it turns out I was wrong. Like, adoption, we solved adoption at MetaKeep, building one of the best user journeys possible in building embedded wallets. And what we realized the problem is the technology itself. Because in the course of building wallet infrastructure, pitching blockchain technologies to enterprises and being part of those conversations and deals, we realized that once an enterprise is not choosing a particular blockchain technology, they were almost always reverting to a block database. So they were coming from a database and going back to a database. So it's not a question of whether we are picking Solana over Polygon or Polygon over Ethereum or Ethereum over Near. It's a question of, can we help people bridge that cost, scale, performance divide between Web3 and Web2? And for businesses' point of view, if you look at it this way, I'm pretty happy paying maybe a few $100s in running my infrastructure on a very efficient database. Now, all of a sudden, I'm spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on gas fees and running on very inefficient technology. Why am I doing that? At the end of the day, the marginal improvement that I get in my processes, the marginal value that I derive from blockchain, which differs from different businesses, is not enough for me to accept the slow pace of blockchain, as well as the increased expense of making a blockchain transaction. So that was our thesis, that look, I mean, we have solved the GTM part of it. We solved the adoption for enterprises. What we are really missing is the underlying infrastructure for it to catch up. And it turns out my long career in building distributed systems and planet scale distributed systems operating at 50 million transactions per second, as an example, is very effective, because we now have enough data to understand, hey, what are people doing on the planet? What is the technology that as it exists today? And what do people really want? We know that because we sell the embedded wallet infrastructure that solves for that. And in understanding this, we can now engineer an ultra efficient blockchain infrastructure from first principles in a way that actually solves the blockchain trilemma. And what I mean by that is being able to handle infinite transactions per second and block finalization at the speed of light being the only factor. And smart contracts that are privacy aware, so that you can actually build real world finance and ecosystems on chain. And all of that at a transaction cost under 10% overhead of that of a database. So if we can somehow solve this, then we have a technology that accelerates the entire Web3 ecosystem. It's not competing with other blockchain ecosystem. It's lifting the entire blockchain industry, making that accelerated at 10 million times faster, and so that we can now move value at the speed of moving data. And the question was, technology is cool, but there's a lot of great ideas in the market. But how do we, what is the urgency of something like this, right? If we build it, why would someone come? So that's where we lean back as pragmatists on the fundamentals, which is, if we are making it 10 million times faster, cheaper, and better, then people will build on it, because not doing so is an existential threat, because someone else is building on it. And not just relying on that, but actively understanding the market dynamics of what's going on. So we are at this place in the world, for the first time, more machines are going to be browsing the internet than people, which is fascinating, because as people, Google search is only relevant for most people for the first half of the results, and no one ever bothers to even scroll down the page. And with agents, though, they have enough amount of time, because they process in millisecond as opposed to hundreds of milliseconds as humans we do. So what that means is that agents are browsing farther and deeper corners of the internet than humans can, and they're aggregating the best content regardless of which resource published it. So not if someone is paywalling it, people are just simply skipping over that and going over resources that are not. And so traditional internet, which is not paywalled, which is the majority part of it, relies on this ad-supported model, right? And websites get paid CPM, cost per million views, and generally it is the tune of 10 to the power of -6 to -7 US dollars. And so the question is, with this agent-led model, ads are irrelevant. No one is actually watching them. And so how do you even begin to monetize something like this? It cannot be a paywalled approach because you're simply going to skip through that. But the content creators still need to get paid. So that is where there is a blank space in the market right now, which needs to build a trustless infrastructure for payments. And not that works at human speed, because then agents are no better in browsing the internet than people, but one that works at machine speed, which is literally 10 million times faster than anything that exists in Web3 today. So everything that we are building as the architecture at Supercritical, trying to build an accelerated blockchain ecosystem, it just translates to the urgency that we have right now in making agents pay other infrastructure and institutions and other agents to the tune as low as 10 to the power of -7 US dollars. In order to do that, your transaction costs will be much lower than that. And that means that you should be as efficient as a database call. So that is where we see an urgent product market fit as we socialize and as we talk to people. And yeah, so that I'll give you a pause at that moment. So that has been our journey from mining Bitcoin because it was fun and being meme coin when it started, and to professionally understanding that, holy shit, this is an infrastructure that is going to change fundamentally how we build distributed systems, to realizing that, okay, we have solved adoption, but people are not using it because the technology is the limitation. So and then beginning to solve the technology problem. So we came full circle from our staunchly let's not create a layer one to we had to create yet another layer one. Yeah.
Amazing. I think this is very, very fascinating, Naga. I think, I think, yeah, as you rightly said, it's been like a full circle of, building like the sort of a centralized applications, getting attracted decentralized world, seeing, and then, again coming where you create that infra where, uh, the transactions or, the other do not have the bottlenecks, and it's just, applications can just thrive, on that. So yeah, it's amazing. Coming on to the I mean, on the supercritical journey, Naga, right? I mean, you told, I mean, why is the requirement or how, this thing started, but, more from a, practical level perspective, given the industry, that we have, there have been some solutions, which have come up in the past, which
Mhm.
claim to be near, real time, things. So when you were brainstorming on, supercritical thing, what was the broad vision for you guys? What were those top, 4 to 5 things that you felt that, hey, what, if we are able to solve this and give developers the power, there could be tons of amazing use cases, which could be built on top. How was the, mental modeling, for this whole exercise?
100%. So the first one is understanding that building blockchain products today is not fun. We built it because someone is paying for it in terms of grants, or someone we hope to make a lot of money building it, another DEX or another marketplace or another asset trading platform. But we do that motivated by capital, but we don't do that because it's fun. And whereas when you look at Web 2 companies like Vercel or Render or any Firebase, they're exciting because they're fun. And even Replit, right? You can get started and ship an application and see that application interacting back with you and your users in real time and being responsive. And so as a student, when I go back in time, I found that if I can write code and just publish it on the internet, people are able to access my code and then visit my websites, and I got paid in advertising, and I sold products on the internet. And that was fun. It was not inspired by money. Few $100 and few thousand rupees back then, but it was importantly fun. And how can you make blockchains fun? I think that's the first important part. Number one thing is that things have to be responsive. And what I mean by that is this: when I submit a transaction, I should immediately know whether or not it was successful. Imagine interacting with the database and database coming back to you with a result in a few seconds. And second part of it is scale, because essentially, if you think about blockchain, it's a planet-spanning database, and which has a very strict throughput limitations on how fast they can be, and that sucks because the real value in blockchain infrastructure and in the industry is being able to bring all the industries on one connected line, one interoperable protocol. But I'm by limiting the block space and limiting the number of transactions, I'm inherently gatekeeping people who are building things for fun. I just can't build it on a mainnet, because I would I rather pay 10 rupees for eating a veg roll, or would I rather spend that on paying gas fees for sending 10 rupees to someone else? I would rather use UPI and then eat an egg roll with that 10 rupees. So that is where there is a disconnect in what makes Web 2 fun and what makes Web 3 not fun. And so first we need to, as an industry, we need to fix that problem. And a lot of smart people and smarter people have built in infrastructure today that handles one or some of those issues. So we have this amazing thing called the trilemma, which kind of acts as the great barrier. So you can build a ultra scalable blockchain, and you can make it decentralized, but you cannot make it secure. Or you can make it secure and scalable, but not decentralized. Or you can make it decentralized and secure, but not scalable. So pick two of the three categories. And so pick any project, right? Let's say something that works on a real-time transactions. The total number of transactions that can be real-time is just limited. In terms of in terms of per second, how many transactions at max can you handle? At best, if you combine all the block space together, I'm multiplying that by 10. We are probably looking at 5 million TPS if I just combine all the block space, all the blockchains together. For context, Nasdaq 4 years ago handled 1 million orders a second, and that's retail traffic more than quadrupled since then. And so and as I was building Twitter's social graph, right, it was 400 million users. That's about the size of US, and it required the social graph to support 50 million transactions per second. And that's just one application that people use on a casual basis. Now, if you bring the entirety of the internet, all the systems on chain, you need a throughput. That's where that 10 million figure comes from. When you do the math, is that you need to have the throughput of a blockchain and connected ecosystem that is 10 million times larger than anything that exists today. It's an insanely large number. For context, the sun is only 109 times larger than Earth. And so the parameters that we were struggling with is, for this to make sense, first, it has to be responsive, and speed of light should be the only limiting factor on the finalization. And the security should scale with the number of nodes that are participating in the network. And we get infinite transactions per second by making the network horizontally scalable. So by adding more number of nodes, both the decentralization and security and scale should increase. Forget about the trilemma for a second. If you can solve that, if we can increase the throughput, if you can increase the security by making it Byzantine fault tolerant, and if you can increase the decentralization by using delegated proof of stake without a cap on the number of validators, then you have actually solved a problem that makes Web 2, Web 3 actually compete with Web 3. And it's not about let's build a yet another ecosystem that creates its own fragmented liquidity from other blockchains. In fact, building an application on Supercritical lets you tap into liquidity on Solana, on Ethereum, on Polygon, or any other network. So in fact, we lift every blockchain ecosystem forward by just building this. So that is where that is what excited us to invest our time and energy into this. And Yeah, so that's basically the big picture, and the model that we started to understand that is the realization that every technology that you pick comes with a trade-off. And so being coming from a distributed systems engineer mindset, you tend to deal with developer ergonomics and making things fun as the first important thing, and making things scale and pragmatic as the first important thing over everything else. um, for example, other blockchain ecosystems are created by systems engineers, and you can see the ergonomics as developers build on it, because you need to build some things, and as a systems engineer would, which is not most web developers, because web developers, which is majority of the world, we live in the mindset of abundance. When you build an application, of course it should scale, of course it should handle as many users as I can throw at it, and there should be a component that is free so that I can ship applications and demonstrate those applications to the public. And so that is the first principles basis at which we approached it.
Amazing. Uh, Naga, in interest of time, I think I wanted to cover this point specifically in terms of the use cases. Uh, I think AI agents have been on a critical rise. I mean, we've seen since last a year or so. It's been like fundamentally growing over here.
Yeah,
Now, how do you feel that the current boom, which is there, fits in the supercritical, sort of a roadmap plan? Because you guys are like doing like, I mean, it's just crazy the kind of speed and stuff that is being there, right? I mean, we're talking about crazy TPS and stuff, which is happening over here.
mhm.
And so how does this fit in? And have you seen any uh, developers or any other people use it? And what were some sort of comparative results that you could share some
Absolutely.
data?
What gets AI builders super excited about Supercritical is that for the first time, we define a machine speed monetization to be made possible. So the first time that you are interacting with an agent and asking for it to do something, at the same request, you can settle a payment before the first bytes start responding from the server. That is fascinating for developers. And second, the question about one thing that is blowing up in recent times is model context protocol, which is allowing AI agents to discover the entirety of the internet in a open standard that is more ergonomic to and native to AI. And so, as people are building it, we are seeing excellent use cases where they want to embed this as the mechanism at which you can build services where you don't have to develop the authentication infrastructure, you don't have to develop the payment infrastructure. You just build your application, publish it on Supercritical, just as you would publish on Vercel or any other application. And anytime anyone interacts with you, you just get paid. And that's amazing. So I'm not talking about, hey, there is this particular category of applications that you can only build. I'm talking about building applications, whatever applications. Blockchain and decentralized tech happens to be an implementation detail that doesn't bother the users. And so, for that matter, we are making, not only are we EVM opcode compatible, our native language is TypeScript, which makes 90 times more developers access the network easily than any other ecosystem combined together. And that's amazing, because why can we handle TypeScript? And TypeScript is a very inefficient language. But how can we handle that over any other network? It's because what we lack in per CPU instruction execution efficiency, we make that up in terms of parallelization. So through infinite TPS, that means that even though a single machine can, let's say, handle at best 50,000 transactions per second, two machines put together now can handle 100,000 transactions a second, and then it just grows from there fairly linearly. And that basically means that we can double down. It's like CPU versus GPU. What GPU lacks in a per CPU raw power, it makes that up more than that in terms of the parallelized cores. Yeah, so AI agent number one use case. But even beyond that, we are seeing anything that people are already building in terms of NFTs, in terms of gaming. It just makes it so much efficient while still keeping their liquidity, if they prefer, on an existing blockchain network. So this is more of an acceleration layer on top of every other ecosystem in existence.
Got it. Yeah, Naga, just two quick questions. I'm like happy to, the use cases are so incredible. I think, we should do like a rundown of each of these particular sectors and highlight, some of the use cases, which will be there. But yeah, in terms of Supercritical's journey, I think it's a very thought through, sort of a mission. And I think you seeing the entire development side in your previous, past journeys as well. I think there's a clear roadmap on where you want to go ahead on. Now, for our listeners, who want to contribute, to Supercritical in terms of a either development or in terms of community or any other things, what's the best way for them to get involved?
Absolutely. So we'd love to hear from people uh, because we are enabling blockchains and decentralized tech accessible as a forever infrastructure at a cost no different from a database, and the speeds no different from a database, and with complete decentralization, it just explores the possibility space of what even is possible on blockchain. And so I would be doing injustice in iterating the cases myself, because most of the cases that would be killer on this is probably not even explored yet, right? And so love to hear from people on what they think they would like to build on the network, and get them hands-on working with an early version of it, and work together with the community. And also we are hiring, so if people are looking to join the team and just take that mission forward, please reach out to me. I'm at Naga at getsupercritical.com.
Awesome. One last question, Naga, is imagine a young developer or a founder who wants to build something out, in these times.
Mhm.
There's been good news, and there's obviously, market's been bad,
Right.
since last year. But what would be your recommendation for top 2 3 ideas which you feel can become really big?
Got it. Great question. Give me 1 second as I think through this. Do you mean specifically in Web3?
Yeah, I mean, in general, it could be anything
Yeah,
where you feel okay, the market is like ripe, for this sort of a concept to just go in.
yeah. I think making applications that are real time, and understanding that blockchain, let's say I tell you that blockchain is no different from using a database, and you can build forever running applications that have a fractional value. So for example, let's say you build an authentication infrastructure that is different, that competes with Auth0 or other providers or Firebase, and every time someone uses it, you get paid a 1/100th of a cent, but times that with a billion people across the planet using different applications. So I think uh, it tends to the industry is now at an interesting space where new possibilities are now opening up that were never possible before. So I think payments is a number one use case for blockchain technology and application of payments, and more beyond that, in terms of like how to think about building a company in the Web3 space, in the industry, think about what is more fun than anything else. So if you think with your right brain, creative brain, and understand, okay, I mean, you first enjoy the process of building an application. That holy shit, like, if you make something that is actually fun and where you get excited about building it, I think that's the right product to build. And then the best way to validate it is go to market and build small prototype that get people excited. So that's basically the approach that we are taking ourselves, candidly, which is, hey, this is what we built, an alpha version of it. This benchmarks the scale and speed and demonstrates that in real world. And so does that excite people? Yes. Okay. What would you prefer as the programming language of choice? Like, is it TypeScript or Python or EVM. And we heard back that, hey, we need to be EVM compatible and opcode compatible. So we brought that in as a native construct, EVM compatibility. But a lot of developers on the planet don't want anything to do with Solidity, or don't want anything to do with any other harder languages. So we need to make it available for other developers as well, majority of the developers. So I think what I'm saying that to say this, that building applications that are, first of all, fun for you to build, and second, that is fun for other people to use, I think is basically the secret recipe. And my number one recommendation is use AI, and vibe code shit out of it. And because never has it been possible for you to create at the speed of thought than today, that where we are living in right now, and it's amazing. And models are progressing faster than we can level up ourselves as people, which is great. So we can just do the higher level creative thinking and then rely on models to record that for them. And I know my business partners who have actually built fun Telegram applications with no coding background, and that's amazing to see the progress on. So the first thing is basically think about what would be fun that you would like to see happen in the world. And technology is catching up. We are building many of the rails for you to do that, but regardless, technology is catching up. So think about what is fun, and building that is the key.
Amazing. Thanks, Naga. I think hopefully we see someone build some applications on this.
Absolutely.
And it was great to chat with you, Naga. I think very in depth thought on how the supercritical journey is going to be, and very very excited to see some stunning things come out of this. We'll surely chat more in detail about each of the potential verticals and use cases as we move ahead.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you so much for getting me on, Pratik. It's always super exciting to talk to you, and also as a listener of the podcast as well. Like it is excellent. Just basically learning from other people and their thought processes. So, but thank you for having me.